The first problem I'm going to identify is what I call regime thinking. Regime thinking, and I think these are things that have affected, in fact, the threat to security as well as how we manage it. What do I mean by regime thinking? The attention of Nigerians are actually, in a way, partitioned along regimes. So, for example, whatever happens today is thought of in terms of Buhari. And this regime thinking is not just about the citizen, it is also about the government. So you find the current regime, for everything that is wrong was inherited. Everything that is good, it initiated. That is a regime thinking from the part of government. From the part of citizen, is the similar thing. Everything that is bad is a product of the present regime. Everything that is good happened in the past. So it just is a reversal. For the government, everything good now is their work. Everything bad was attributed to the past. For the citizen, every bad thing belongs to the present government, and every good thing was in the past. And I think this had in a way, hindered our development, this regime thinking. We are a nation, we are a society, and we need to think not in regime, but rather in terms of aspiration and interest. And of course, there is no cutout in terms of good or evil, in terms of regime. So that's the first thing. The second thing which derives from that is that we are a nation that has not developed to observe and to treat very seriously early warning systems or early warning indicators. What do I mean by this? I became sensitive to what I call this early warning indicator when, as a graduate student, I had to take a course in psychiatry for a semester as a student of criminology. In fact, I was taught by one of the people who treated the guy who shot Reagan during his presidency of the US. And it became very close to me. You know, Nigeria, we see people misbehaving for 20 years. We see them doing things that they shouldn't be doing, and we'll be observing. We don't think something is wrong with them until something finally happens. We say, I didn't understand. We have been watching him for this thing. It looks as if something was wrong with him. We never really treat early warning systems seriously until the disaster has happened. So when we are talking about internal insecurity today, I think we need to cast our mind back that the whole process started almost before even our independence. But because we did not treat those early warning systems, because we did not tackle them, they began to increase, they begin to magnify, they begin to change their forms. And I just highlighted a number of the early warnings. Within 3-4 years, we had the Operation Weta in the West, during which large number of uniformed people were killed, large number of civilians were killed, politicians were killed, and lots of materials, properties were destroyed. On January 15, 1966, we had the first coup, again in which, of course, the prime minister, the pioneer prime minister, or the only prime minister we actually had, the prime minister was killed, 2 premiers were killed of Western region and northern Nigeria, and a lot of top military and political officers, largely of northern extraction. On July 29, 1966, that same year, a reprisal took place. Again, killings proceeded. And we went on with the large killings and eventually emigration of Igbos from the north to the east, and subsequent declaration of a Republic of Biafra and 30 Civil War. What did we learn from all this? What did we learn from this? Did we just think these things will evaporate? Do we not think it will have, something weaken our foundation as a country? We never, at any point stop to think through many of these things. We use the same infrastructure, security infrastructure throughout this period. But I must recognize that the period 1970s to mid-1980s were actually glorious era, in a sense, for Nigeria. If you are talking about the good era, the good period in Nigeria, it will probably be the period between 1970 and 1985. That was when we had a massive infrastructural growth. We have massive growth in our economy, And then, of course, we had quite a number of development. Example I give, I think until recently, the president of Ohaneze Ndigbo, Jonia Nwodo, became such what I call an unhappy, to be mild, an unhappy person. And one occasion I had to call him aside. I said, Oga, I think this unhappiness and the kind of messages that come from you should come from someone else. And why did I say that? John Nwodo was a student of University of Ibadan between 1973 and 1976. And in 1975-76, or 74-75, he actually contested for the presidency of Ibadan Student Union, University of Ibadan Student Union, and he defeated a Yoruba man in that election and became the president. That was a man elected not in a setting in which the majority of the students were Igbos, but were Nigerians. And I said, if anybody was going to be bitter, it ought not to be you. The question is, what has happened since then? And I think that's the kind of thing, rather than very partisan role he was playing. But a lot of Nigerians are bitter today. The event of 1986 we have undermined its impact on our national security. We had the early warning system, but I think the introduction of SAP in 1986 marked a major landmark. When our industries were destroyed, you can do a quick account of the companies that gave job to Nigerians in the 1980s that are still in existence. I quickly give you just one industry, textile. Those of you who live in Kaduna will know that Mercury and Kakuri had no less than 5 thriving textiles. As of that time, none of which recruited, had personnel less than 3,000. Or at least all of them are dead except the one that remained, Ogbanje, which I think United Nigerian Textiles Limited. And I'm not sure that one recruit up to 1,000 people anymore. We have the similar thing in Kanu. A thriving textile industry in Kanu is all dead. We had a thriving industry in Aba, dead. We had a thriving textile industry in Ikeja, is dead. Those textiles were the ones that created Oshiomhole.